Hello there and welcome to another insightful episode of African Student Voices. And I want to begin with this write-up. It says that arise arise African youth for your continent, because this continent actually demands your devotion, your effort and your minds. There's no need for us to engage ourselves in any other activity which is irrelevant and will not contribute positively to the continent, but rather put in all efforts to drive the continent forward. And here on African Student Voices, brought to you by the Association of African Universities, we are looking forward to talk about turning the youth into peace builders. Realize that so much of war in Africa is engineered, is spearheaded by the youth, the young people. And what have we done to deserve this? What is the reason why we do this? And what inspires us to destroy our own country's resources and efforts all to the ground because of war? We'll find this out when we go for this quick pause and come back. My name is Ajimona Chudako, and please stay tuned, don't go anywhere. All right, so you're welcome back. If you just joined us, it's African Student Voice on AUTV, and we're discussing turning the youth of Africa into peace builders. Whether you were the lit or unfortunately you didn't get the opportunity to go to school, so you're an illiterate. No matter who you may be, we are going to talk about how we can turn every one of us, myself, you, into a peace builder. And with me to talk about this, as to begin, is Deborah Ofusua Akon, ex-House Secretary for the CAF University in Ghana, and also I have with me Mr. Alhassan Kuraboso Mahama, SRC President for the Islamic University of Ghana. Nice people, you are welcome to African Student Voices.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great. You know, I could have called anybody amongst the many, but you are the great, wonderful people I need on this set because you are passionate about peace building. And I know anybody out there is also that's into peace building too. So I know they represent the entire African continent on this matter. So we'll begin with a very profound question. Why are the youth of Africa, that category of people, always engaged in war? Why is it the youth and not anyone else but the youth? I'll begin with you, Deborah.
Okay, thank you very much. Why would somebody choose the youth over any other person to go stand in front of a war? It's because they believe they have that energy, they have that courage, they have that vision, and they are ready to do what they put their mind to. I would have taken any other person, but looking at what the youth carries, I strongly believe that taking the youth is the best option. Taking the youth is the best option because taking an old man, he doesn't have that energy. He's so old. Even the courage to even stand there puts fear in him. But the youth will stand there and say, I want to stand for that cause. I'll fight for what I want to seek. So at all costs, taking the youth is the best option to be at the war front. Yeah.
Mama, do you find the use of the African youth as the tool for war, do you find it quite bizarre, or you think that we have something unique or special when it comes to things like that?
You know, the issue is that just as Deborah stated, the youth, we are desperate to achieve in life. So, and this is what our politicians understand about we the youth. So they sit down critically to understand what we want, then they put it before us. And once we are desperate to get there, we will do everything within our powers just to what? Fulfill the proposal in order to what? Get where we want to be. So until we the youth get to understand that no, we have a better position in our societies rather than to be used for such dangerous activities, we are jeopardizing our future and the future of what? Africa. So I would want to charge the youth of Africa to understand our position in the society, not be used by politicians just to what? Ascertain their selfish interest, which goes a long way, just as I mentioned earlier, to jeopardizing our future.
You know, Africa has this agenda that we all should understand, that in the next 50 years, we want to attain a peaceful and secure Africa. And the document is called the Agenda 2063, Agenda 2063. And this agenda is very important with 7 aspirations, and it has driven Africa towards a peaceful and secure state. And that means that we should have everybody on board. And you mentioned earlier that youth have that kind of enthusiasm to drive anything, and that's why they are needed. But throw more light on the fact, who do we need at this point to drive peace and security in Africa?
Fortunately, it's still the youth. Because when you look at the position at which we find the youth, they can do anything. One thing we are supposed to realize is the youth can make and unmake a country. One thing we are supposed to realize is that. Sure. And then having the youth at the forefront of a war and what they can do is the same as having them to be those to bring up the peace we want to see in the country. So let's assume we have this number of people as being the youth, and then they come up and say that we have seen this thing go on in society for a very long time. We want to bring peace to the society. Should the youth sit down and say, we'll put up this plan A, plan B, plan C. We'll start with this. We'll start and then talk to the people of society. Tell them that we want to see this as the youth of the community. They've gone to them and then they tell them, this is our plan A. And they say, we'll try our best. But you know, Ghana, when you go to them, oh, I'm busy, I'll get back to you, I'm busy, I'll get back to you. They don't listen to it. Plan B, they go to plan B. The same thing. Oh, I want to work on it, but I've not really had time. Give me more time. The youth says, okay, we come to plan C. And it's the same. At that instance, the youth will take up an action. That is where you see the youth going in for war. But at that particular time, should the youth say that, okay, we want to mobilize people, talk to our fellow youth and tell them that this is going on, but we want to see that our country is peaceful. Due to this 2063 agenda, we want to make sure we want to see our country at that level in 50 years' time or about 40 years' time. Definitely it will come to pass, because we are those who bring up the war, and we are those who bring up the peace we want to find. So having them at that side, they can still bring us the peace we want to see instead of the war we are thinking is going on in Africa as a continent. Yeah.
So let's talk about, Hassan, what really has been our problem? Because we are always the ones spearheading these conflicts. What has been our need? What has actually inspired us to open ourselves to this manipulation?
It all zeroes down to poverty. So until the leadership of our various countries in Africa is able to roll out job opportunities that can get the youth engaged, that can put food on the tables of this youth, the youth would always, just as I stated earlier, we are always desperate to make it in life. So once there are roll-out initiatives that can help the youth to make it in life, to put food on their tables, I doubt if any youth will lay down his or her life just to be used by a politician for their selfish interest. So it is then in our interest to create job opportunities if the government is not doing that, because the government might not want to do that just because at the end of the day they would come back to use us. So if they create such jobs for us, we wouldn't be there for them to use us for their selfish interest. So if we are realizing that the government is not ruling out such job opportunities, we should be able to sit down, think outside the box. Let's get ourselves engaged. Let us do something that would create income for us, so that at the end of the day, you wouldn't sit there for a politician to come and promise you 100 Ghana cedis, then you would go out there and then commit any suicidal conflict in order to get food on your table. So we should be able to think as the youth, because we are desperate, we have the enthusiasm, we should invest that into our thinking. Let us not be used by these politicians for their selfish interests and not our interest, because at the end of the day, we are the end constituents who are going to suffer the consequences. So I would advise that as a youth, we shouldn't sit and ask what the government can do for us. We should rather sit and ask what we can do for the government. And until we, the youth, begins to think from this tangent, we would always be used by the politicians. So what I would advise is that let us charge ourselves as a youth. Let us come together as a united body, as Deborah mentioned. Let's think what we can do for our country, not to push the politicians' agendas. Because politics will come and go, but then Ghana and any other African country still remains.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, I tell you, we would be the very people to answer questions.
Okay. Okay. You know, just as true, 2 years ago we had war all over some parts of Africa, especially Somalia, destroying so much of their properties. And we'll have to go for a quick pause.
When you lost, you were down. le fuesto. Le fuesto.
All right, then welcome back to African Student Voices, the hub for students, the voice of higher education in Africa, brought to you by AAU TV. And before we went for the pause, we watched the video of what happened in these war zone areas. After you've burned down your buildings, what was the next thing for you, African youth? So, Deborah, let's take it from there. When the youth are involved in all of these mayhem, now we have a country full of smoke, destroyed buildings. What do you think now is there for the youth when war has already taken place?
Okay, I would say it leaves the youth vulnerable at that point because we felt fighting is going to bring something productive. By the end, we lose everything. People are going to lose their lives, their properties. And then another thing is there's going to be loss of money in the sense that the government will have to put money in place to restructure the country again. And that is not a 1 year or 2 year process. It's a lifetime something. And then it doesn't help because economically you are losing. You are going to lose factories. They can't even produce to give the country money to even survive on. And then even when that happens, you can't have other countries trying to help you or donate to you. You even lose that opportunity. So with all this, you see that you get nothing at the end of the day. You lose everything you have. The good cordial relationship with other countries, the love, the friendship, you lose everything. And we stand to gain nothing as the youth. Should we go into these kind of ups and downs, thinking we can survive on that kind of life? It's not good.
Let's take it from the
Very,
issue
very
of
bad.
if a country had a life to live after war, how do you find a country's life? Is it dying or perhaps it can resurrect?
For that, it would still depend on those who led what happened before, because let me say the youth stood in front and then the country died. They had a life and then they died. It is the same youth that would stand up and then try to build it up. They can resurrect and they can die. They are two things altogether, depending on what kind of strategy they put in place to let it resurrect or they die. If I put things in place where I say that, okay, in the next 10 years, I want to see my country resurrect because of what happened, and then my plan is strong, we can come up. But if the plan is bad, I tell you, we would die and we wouldn't come up again. That is what other African countries are going through, and then it's hell. It's hell.
You know, that's from the country point of view. Let's talk about the youth in particular. If young people, let's say in a country like Somalia, countries like Congo, Sierra Leone, who've been through war, how is the fate of these young people after the war? The world knows about it, and even some African countries know about it. What becomes the fate for these young people? Can they survive in the country, or what happens when they go to other countries?
We have seen a series of videos where the youth of these countries that have faced similar circumstances trying to go overseas, that is using through Libya and then trying to cross the sea. We've seen how such youth, young men and then women losing their lives in the course of finding greener pastures at overseas just because their countries were involved in such instances.
Yeah.
So I must say that just as Deborah mentioned, the youth is actually the brain behind the wars. And then if we are able to sit down as a youth to plan strategically, we can invite investors into our countries to see how best we can liberate our dying countries from that states.
You know, someone would say, I'm in my country, government has failed us. And passionately, a failed government deserves not to be even alive. We have to burn it down. And in the course of that, we end up destroying the whole country. What then is left for me when I have done all of this in my country? Is there any future that, okay, after this, I'm a freedom fighter? They say they are freedom fighters when you get to those things. What's your view on that?
The question should be, what can you do for the country? If the government has failed, what measures as an individual are you putting in to resolve that situation?
He fought to take him away.
But then that shouldn't be the right way, because you are jeopardizing your life and then your families and then the nation at large.
Okay.
There are better ways for us to sit and then to resolve these issues.
How better?
Just as Deborah mentioned earlier, we are the youth. We are innovative. We have the enthusiasm. I believe that as a youth, if we are able to come together as a united body, let's try as much as possible to think outside the box. Try to approach issues literally, but not the other way around. That might lead us to our early death or jeopardize the future of our countries. So I believe if we are able to sit, come out with strategic plans, put a proposal before the government. If the government is not willing to understand, we have NGOs who can make our voices be heard over other countries that might be willing to set in to help. We have the AU, which always set into such African countries just to ensure that they help those countries liberate from their current state. So we shouldn't always resort to those measures. Just as you mentioned, we shouldn't call ourselves freedom fighters by picking guns and what have you, just to cause commotion. That shouldn't be the best way to resolve such issues. We should be able to resolve issues amicably. Let's sit down, bring our brains together, think outside the box. Let's ask questions. What as we the youth can do for our country? And if we begin to think from this tangent, I believe we the youth from the African society can come up with reasonable thoughts that can help liberate our country, but not to resort to such.
Okay. So now let's come to peace building. Okay. We understand that peace isn't just a one-day thing. It's a daily process, an all-time process, trying to get minds together to consensus, where we don't do things forcefully, but with peace, there's we understand each other, we agree at a point together. In this case, as peace builders, African youth becoming peace builders, what are the elements that we should actually pick up to make us the youth very good peace builders?
Okay, first of all, before one can be a peace builder, they're supposed to understand what it means to see something as what it means to be a peace builder, yes. Sure. And then peace building is a gradual process. We want to establish peace. That is the whole idea of being a peace builder. Sure. So here is a case where the African youth, we want to see ourselves as peace builders sometime to come. The first thing we are supposed to do is ask ourselves that during those times where there was war and conflict, what brought about those things? What happened? Should we see what caused those things behind us? We can sit and then say that, okay, so with this problem, this is the solution. Yeah. Let's see, I go to a place where I realize that the youth are fighting because they feel there's unemployment. The cause that brought the conflict is unemployment. Yeah. So if I want to be a peace builder, I have to try and then create opportunity for people to get jobs. Sure. Create opportunity is not easy, but let them realize that they have something in them they can do. I can't just get a job, a white-collar job anywhere I go, but I can start up something. I can sell water and get money. I can learn how to sew. I can learn how to make beads. I can make a living out of that. So with that, I have cleared that point of unemployment from your life. I've helped you, and then now you are going to help others and then bring peace to the country, because when there's peace, there's sound mind. When there is peace, be able to live up and down freely, as in we have that kind of freedom in the country. That is one part. And then the other part, you're supposed to make sure that we put in programs that can train the literates who are also in that kind of attitude. Because if you don't give them the education they need, they wouldn't understand what it means to be a peace builder. I can say I've gone to the tertiary and then I have my degree. I feel I'm a big young lady, but I don't even understand what it means to be a peace builder. Yeah. I can put up programs or initiatives and then call all tertiary students to come together. When they come, we tell you we are trying to create a union or an association for peace builders alone. And then we want to teach you what it means to be a peace builder, what it takes to be a peace builder. We sit you down, tell you this is what you're supposed, this is what you can do, put up strategies down, and then they can pick it up from there. Yeah. Those who have a vision for the country would want to take up that process. Sure. But those who feel like, I mean, the country we are in, I don't care what happens, they just sit back and watch. But we see peace as something we want to see in the 2063 agenda, we will definitely pursue that cause. Because seeing us in that peace will bring us joy. If I live in a country where there's no peace, I wouldn't want to be there. I would want to leave to another country, forgetting that that same country has people that can bring about conflict. And we need the same youth to sit and then resolve that issue. She gets it. So basically it's about these little trainings we put them through that can make them understand that being a peace builder means a lot, and not just to benefit yourself, but the country as a whole. Yeah.
So, Hassan, looking at building peace and also creating the African youth environment where we can become peace ambassadors, what do you think are some of the things that we, as peace ambassadors, must understand?
When it comes to conflict, when you see yourself as a peace builder, and you have to understand how to analyze conflict.
Okay.
Because if I have an issue with Deborah, and you set in as a peace builder and you don't understand the fundamentals of what actually caused the problem, it will be difficult for you to set in to build peace between myself and then Deborah.
Sure.
So what I believe is that we should equip the youth with how to analyze these issues.
Okay.
It shouldn't be any other thing that you should just come in and then start to overreact.
Okay.
When there's an issue and you come in as a peace builder, you need to have the skills to analyze the issue properly.
Okay.
And when passing your judgment, you shouldn't have, you shouldn't take side with any of the parties. You should just say it just as it is, but not take side with one party or the other. So one has to equip him or herself, that is with we the youth. We need to be equipped with such of these skills so that once we set in to build peace, we won't end up compounding the existing issues.
Sure.
So I believe to become peace builders, we need to have these requisite ideas as to how to venture into issues like this so that we don't end up compounding them.
Okay. Of late in the African continent, we find chieftaincy. Chieftaincy and politics is just infiltrating everything. Now, student politics is just getting on the surge. We find students not agreeing to one common understanding, and that is also a point of war. So, Deborah, you just handle that for us. How can we curb the issue of student politics as not turning around to become the time bomb for us, rather we find a way to do student politics in peace?
Okay, personally, I would say that the students, politicians as a whole, don't understand what it means to be a politician.
Okay.
In a sense that to be a politician doesn't mean you are in for the money.
You mean they've all got it wrong?
Yes, I would put it, most of them, majority of them.
Okay.
Because looking at the trend in which they are moving, you can see that they come and then tell us, the SRCs, that, okay, I want you to vote for me. When I come into power, I'll do this for you, do this for you. The SRCs are in to serve our main motion is to serve the students' body.
Sure.
You come up with a plan in line with us and we tell you, fine, you have our vote. You come into power and then we don't see anything as such. We see you doing otherwise. At that point, we feel you are not serving the people you want to serve.
Yeah.
You come in for your own selfish motives.
Okay.
And then that is not the best. Because if I want to be a politician, my motive is to serve my people. My motion is to serve my people, serve my nation as a whole.
Yeah.
Even though I'm human, I have personal, let me say, I have personal things I want to do for myself, but the nation is first.
Sure.
I want to serve them first. But the students, politicians have given us a different picture of all this. So I think the best way we can curb this is, first of all, student leaders should understand what it means to be a politician if you want to pursue the higher political level after tertiary.
Sure.
And then secondly, they have to sit and then think about what can make the country a peaceful one and make the country move on. Because if you have the country at heart, you wouldn't come into power and then do anything you want to do. Human beings have voted you into power, and then you come and then you make us feel left out. This social exclusion, it doesn't make us feel we have that kind of worth. Yeah. So you come in and then you let us know that this is what you want to do. We give you your support. You come in and you are doing the same thing. We work in line with you. Why wouldn't that bring peace to the country? We'll all be working, and then if you have a default, we tell you that, okay, we have this solution. Just come and then we'll help you out. That brings peace. But where you come in and then you do otherwise, it doesn't help. And then thirdly, there should be programs, or let me say, trainings for student leaders who are into politics. That is, those who are experienced at the high level should sit student leaders down, talk to them, make them understand what it means to be a student leader, and then aspire for that dream to be a politician in the future. Should they get all these kind of trainings, it will make them understand and know what to do as a student leader to avoid these chaos that wouldn't bring peace to the country. Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Okay, so Hassan, you can wrap that up with the
Okay.
chieftains in a bit of the student policies.
Talking about the student politicians, I entirely don't blame the leader themselves, but then I turn out to blame the voters. Because if I want to be the SRC president for Islamic University College, and I walk up to you as a voter, as a student, and you turn out to say, if you don't give me this, I wouldn't vote for you. So now I am buying your vote. So after ascertaining your vote, I am no longer accountable to you. So until the voters stop demanding monies from student leaders before they give them their votes, student leaders would always do otherwise after taking the mantle of leadership. So we the students as voters should refrain from asking for such favors from student leaders.
Yeah.
Because once you ask him or her to give you something, there's no way you can hold him or her accountable because you sold your vote out to the person.
Okay.
So I would charge we the voters to stop taking money from them so that at the end of the day, when they are not performing, you can hold him or her responsible.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that's perfect. That's true. I think this is where time can afford us when it comes to turning the youth to peace builders. We made a point very well from Deborah and Hassan that it's all about the youth. We have to understand our future. We need to secure ourselves from political infiltration, and also voters, student voters, stop demanding so much from candidates. If you do that and you're unable to fulfill them, then perhaps you come after them in conflict, and that wouldn't help. Thank you very much for your time. I believe you spent so much of time watching. Do well to send in your comments, questions, and any inquiries to the contact you see on the screen. It is African Student Voices, brought to you by the Association of African Universities, and I was your host today, Ajimu Achudako. Thank you, Deborah, and thank you, Ahasa, for coming. God bless you for watching. Take care. Bye.